Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into daily routines.
Ooh, routines.
Yeah, but we're not just looking at any old routines.
Right.
We're going to be using a conversation between two podcasters as our source material.
Okay.
Their names are Max and Emma, and they really get into the nitty-gritty of how their daily routines work.
I love that.
Yeah. And our mission today is to kind of go through their routines with them and see what we can learn and apply to our own lives.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Awesome. So let's start right at the beginning with the morning wake-up. We see Max is up bright and early at 6:30.
A true morning person.
He is. Meanwhile, Emma prefers a slightly more relaxed start at 7:00.
Makes sense. We all have our own rhythms, right?
Absolutely. And it's a great reminder that there's no one right way to approach your morning routine.
I couldn't agree more. It's all about finding what works best for you.
Totally. Now, one thing that jumped out at me was how they each start their day.
Oh, interesting. What do they do?
Well, Max is all about hydration. The first thing he does is reach for a glass of water.
Oh, that's smart. I've heard that starting your day with water can really make a difference.
I'm the same way. Actually, I learned that the hard way once I was rushing to catch a flight and totally forgot to drink anything before I left the house.
Oh,
Yeah, by the time I got to the airport, I felt so drained and foggy-headed.
not a great way to start a trip.
No, it wasn't. I realized then that even mild dehydration can really mess with your focus and energy levels.
It makes sense when you think about it. Our brains are mostly water, after all.
That's true. So Max is definitely onto something with that water habit.
He is. But Emma has a different approach, which is equally valid.
Oh yeah, what does she do?
Well, instead of reaching for water, she starts her day with some deep breaths and stretches.
Okay, that sounds really relaxing.
It is. Deep breathing can do wonders for calming your nervous system and setting a peaceful tone for the day.
I can see how that would be a great way to ease into the morning.
It's like giving yourself a little mini meditation before all the chaos starts.
Love it. So we've got two very different approaches to waking up, both with their own benefit.
Exactly. And it really highlights the importance of personalization when it comes to routines.
Couldn't agree more. Now let's move on to another crucial part of the morning. Breakfast. Max and Emma are both big believers in fueling up, but as you might expect, they have different preferences.
Of course. Everyone's got their go-to breakfast choices.
So tell me, what's Emma's style?
Emma tends towards oatmeal with fruit. She loves the fiber and sustained energy it provides.
Oatmeal is a classic for a reason, right? Keeps you feeling full and satisfied.
You got it. It's a great way to avoid those mid-morning energy crashes.
Totally. And what about Max? What does he go for?
Max, on the other hand, is all about that protein punch. He usually opts for eggs.
Protein is definitely key for keeping you energized and focused.
Absolutely. It helps to stabilize blood sugar levels, which can prevent those energy dips throughout the morning.
Makes sense. And sounds like Emma also mixes things up sometimes.
Oh, yeah, she does. Sometimes she'll have toast with avocado or peanut butter.
Okay, so she's getting those healthy fats in too.
She is, and that's a really important point to highlight. Both Max and Emma are making conscious choices about what they eat.
They're not just grabbing whatever's convenient.
No, they're thinking about how those choices are going to impact their energy levels and their overall well-being throughout the day.
I love that mindful approach to eating.
It's so important, and it sets a great example for all of us.
Absolutely. So, to recap, we've seen how Max and Emma prioritize hydration and choose breakfasts that fuel their bodies and minds.
And they've shown us that there's no one right way to do it. It's all about finding what works best for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So now that we've covered the morning routine, let's move on to the next part of their day. Work and study time.
All right, let's dive into that. All right. So work and study time. Obviously, Emma, working from home, and Max, being a student, have pretty different setups for this part of their day.
Yeah, their environments are totally different.
Right, but despite that, there are some really interesting similarities in how they approach this time. Like what?
Well, both of them emphasize planning and prioritizing.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Emma starts her workday by diving straight into her to-do list and her calendar.
It's like she's setting her intentions for the day.
Exactly. And Max, he meticulously packs his bag with everything he needs for class, making sure he's totally prepared.
It's all about being proactive, isn't it?
It is. They're both taking control of their time and their responsibility.
I've found that having a to-do list is super helpful for that. Once I get everything written down, my brain can finally relax.
Oh, I know what you mean. It's like you're freeing up mental space.
Exactly. And speaking of mental space, both Max and Emma make sure to incorporate breaks into their routines.
Ah, breaks. So important.
They are. I used to think that pushing through work without stopping was the most productive way to go.
I think a lot of us fall into that trap.
But I've learned that taking breaks can actually make you more productive in the long run.
It's counterintuitive, but it's true.
Yeah, if you try to work nonstop, you're going to burn out eventually.
You'll hit a wall for sure. Exactly. And this brings us to a vocab word that Max and Emma highlighted. Recharge.
Ooh, yes, recharge.
They both seem to understand that stepping away from work or studies isn't just about resting. It's about actually boosting your energy and focus.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And speaking of energy, another concept that they touched on was personal energy rhythms.
Ah, yes. I love this concept.
I'm intrigued by it, but I'm not entirely sure I understand what it means.
So it's basically the idea that we all have natural peaks and valleys in our energy levels throughout the day.
Okay, so like times when we're super productive and times when we're just like dragging.
Exactly. And being aware of your own personal energy rhythm can help you plan your day more effectively.
That makes sense. Like if you know you're most focused in the morning, you'd want to tackle your most challenging tasks then.
Precisely. And you'd save the less demanding stuff for when your energy is a little lower.
It's like working with your body instead of fighting against it.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference in how you feel and how much you get done.
This is making me think about how important it is to actually pay attention to those energy shifts throughout the day.
Yes. Tuning into those subtle cues from your body can really help you make smarter choices about when to work, when to rest, and how to structure your day for optimal productivity.
It's like we're becoming our own personal productivity coaches.
I love that analogy. And the more you pay attention, the better you'll get at recognizing those patterns and working with them.
So we've talked about planning, prioritizing, taking breaks, and understanding our personal energy rhythms. It's a lot to consider.
It is. But remember, you don't have to do everything perfectly right away.
It's a process, right?
Absolutely. Start small, experiment, and see what works best for you.
And most importantly, be kind to yourself along the way.
Couldn't agree more. All right, now that we've covered the work and study portion of their routines, let's move on to how Max and Emma unwind and prepare for a good night's sleep.
We've really gotten a fascinating glimpse into the power of daily routines with Max and Emma, haven't we?
It's amazing how those small, intentional choices they make throughout the day can really add up to create such a positive impact.
Yeah, and it's not just about being more productive or getting more things done.
Right, it's also about cultivating a sense of balance and well-being in their lives.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to bring it back to our listener.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about Max and Emma's routines, but what does all of this mean for you?
Exactly. How can we take these insights and apply them to our own lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. And I think the key takeaway here is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to routines.
Yeah, what works for Max and Emma might not work for everyone.
Right. It's all about finding what feels good and what supports your own individual needs and goals.
So it's less about copying their routines exactly and more about using their experiences as inspiration to design a routine that uniquely serves you.
Exactly. It's about taking what resonates with you and experimenting to see what works best.
And I think another important takeaway is that even small, consistent habits can make a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. It's those little things you do day in and day out that really shape your life.
Like Max's habit of drinking water first thing in the morning, or Emma's dedication to creating a calming workspace.
Exactly. Those seemingly small actions can have a ripple effect throughout your entire day.
It's like setting an intention, even if it's a subtle one.
I love that. And speaking of intentions, let's not forget the importance of being mindful about how we structure our time.
Yeah, planning, prioritizing, and taking breaks. Those are all crucial elements of a successful routine.
They are, and they're all things that Max and Emma demonstrate so well in their own lives.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge. What's one small change you can commit to making in your routine starting tomorrow?
Ooh, I love that. What's one tiny tweak that can make a big difference in your life?
It could be something as simple as drinking a glass of water when you wake up or taking 5 minutes to stretch before bed.
Or even just setting aside 10 minutes to plan your day.
The point is to start small, be consistent, and see what happens.
Exactly. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Just pick one thing and focus on that.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
So true. There will be days when your routine goes perfectly, and there will be days when it totally falls apart.
That's just part of life.
It is. The key is to be kind to yourself, learn from your experiences, and keep adjusting your routine as needed.
So as you continue exploring and experimenting with different routines, remember to have fun with it.
Yes, Make it your own. Infuse it with things that bring you joy and make you feel alive.
Because ultimately, that's what it's all about, creating a life you love.
Well said. It's been a pleasure diving into this topic with you.
Likewise. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.